The stars around Earth flickered. Then, Earth's secret fleet began to move. The strike armada, dozen warships chosen from humanity's deadliest designs, rumbled into deep space formation. Behind them, solar engines charged up. Ahead of them lay a single, possible path. The map discovered beneath the Ruva had revealed the way to the Voidborn's origin point, the Cradle of Era, a region where no light escaped, no signals returned, and no ships had ever come back. Commander Alavale stood at the front of the Obsidian Spear, leading the charge. Her voice echoed through the fleet's comm system. This is not a mission of survival. This is a mission of purpose. We strike not to win, but to end the thing that should never have existed. Deathworlders, we were born for this. Into the uncharted void the fleet entered the first Gatine ancient, decaying wormhole stabilized by the remnants of long-dead civilizations. The stars behind them vanished. Ahead, reality twisted. The ships passed through lightless corridors of folded space. The walls of the wormholes seemed alive, shifting with colors that didn't exist in any spectrum. Private Wren stared out a side viewport from inside ESS Titan's Resolve. It feels like we're being watched. Sergeant Lex Dorian, standing nearby, in the transport bay, replied flatly, "We are. Every moment from here on is a test." As they exited the wormhole, the fleet arrived in a sector marked on the map only as the Silence Rift. It's a silence rift. No stars, no light, just a single dark sphere ahead, faintly visible because it bent the space around it. That's it. Cade whispered on the Obsidian Spear's bridge. The cradle. Commander Vale studied it. It didn't glow. It didn't pulse. It simply was like a scar stitched into the galaxy. Suddenly, proximity alerts screamed. Contact. Multiple. All vectors. Casts. On the screens. Movement. Hundreds of void-born constructs appeared out of the dark. They weren't ships. They were beings, shaped like ships. Their forms changed. Mid-flight, tentacles, wings, claws, and jagged geometry that defied logic. Defensive formations. Vale shouted. Fire at will. The battle before the cradle, the space around the strike armada, turned red with fire. Earth's dreadnoughts fired graviton lances and ion disruptors. The Iron Veil launched a planetary scale rail shot that cut through 8 Voidborn in one pass, but the enemy regenerated. Their wounds healed, their bodies adapted inside one of Earth's mechs. Sergeant Dorian led a ground troop deployment onto a floating asteroid fortress the Voidborn were using as a forward nest. Okay, this rock is breathing, Wren whispered. Then aim for the lungs, Dorian said, firing a demolition charge. The asteroid screamed before cracking in half. Something wakes below in the center of the cradle sphere. Something shifted. A voice, not a sound, but a signal, pressed itself into the minds of every human in the fleet. You do not belong here. You are not the first. But you may be the last. Commander Vale winced as the message hit her like pressure in her skull. They're trying to force a neural collapse, Cade shouted. Shut down external sensory feeds. Root only filtered data through the AI, Vale replied. The ship's systems began auto-filtering the intrusion, breaking through a narrow gap opened in the Void-born formation. Vale saw it. That's our entrance. She sent a fleet-wide signal. All fast units followed the Obsidian Spear. Break through the gate. Shield the support cruisers. We breached the cradle now, engines screamed. The Spear and 5 other ships rammed through the collapsing wall of Voidborns. Others stayed behind, sacrificing themselves to hold the line. The ESS Flamehook exploded behind them, taking 30 Voidborn with it. But the breach was successful. The lead ships reached the edge of the cradle. Sphere. Inside the cradle was wrong. It was not space. It was not vacuum. It was pressure heavy, timeless, and alive as the fleet moved into its center. The stars outside blinked out, and a structure began to emerge. A world engine, fused with bone and steel. Thousands of Voidborn were embedded in it, sleeping, dreaming, or growing. That the AI on board the Obsidian Spear spoke. This is where they are made. This is where they wait to be unleashed. Cade whispered. It's not a factory. It's a womb. Vale stared ahead, cold determination in her voice. Then we killed the seed before it births the storm, preparing the final strike inside. The cradle. The rules of physics began to bend. Lasers curved, gravity warped, time slowed. The AISABER7 began calculating. There is one chance. A core rupture deep inside the world engine. Detonating it could create a collapse cascade, but it must be done from within. A silence passed over the crew. Then Vale spoke. Load the Oblivion warhead. Everyone looked at her. The warhead had no return protocol. Send me, she added. Cade stepped forward. You're the fleet commander, okay, and you'll take over, she said. Okay. But this war ends today. The final flight, the Obsidian Spear descended into the world engine alone, carrying the Oblivion warhead. Voidborn screamed and swarmed. But Earth's escort ships cleared a path with burning fire. The ship's hull began to crack. The AI kept flying. Vale stood at the helm, watching as the walls around her began to shimmer like old memories. A whisper reached her again. You are made of fury. That is why you must be destroyed. She smiled grimly. Wrong. That's why we survive. She pressed the final command. Activate the core. Inside, Commander Alavale stood motionless, surrounded by flickering systems, red lights, and the low hum of the Oblivion warhead charging beneath her feet. The walls around her pulsed like veins, alive with movement. The cradle wasn't a structure, it was a being, a womb of endless war. You are not welcome, said the whispering voice again, this time louder. You bring pain. You bring fire. You are a mistake. Vale stared at the glowing core ahead. No, she replied softly. We're your correction. Above the cradle, Earth's last stand, the rest of Earth's strike. Armada was fighting for survival, in orbit above the cradle. The Iron Veil and Titan's resolve had taken heavy damage. Holes were cracking, systems failing, but they kept firing rail, cannons, pulse beams, and antimatter warheads lighting up the black sky on the bridge of the Titan's resolve. Sergeant Dorian barked orders while blood ran down his cheek. Don't let them reach the cradle, okay? We hold this line, whatever it takes. Sir, that's hundreds of them. Then we burn hundreds. Sky had turned into a storm of shadows and fire. Every second bought Commander Vale more time. Inside the cradle core, the ship's systems failed one by one. First, artificial gravity, then life support. Finally, the lights. Vale stood in total darkness. Only the glowing sphere of the cradle core ahead of her gave light red, pulsing, alive. The voice spoke again. No longer a whisper. Stop. You will not destroy us. You will become us. Images appeared around Val, illusions pulled from her mind, her childhood on Earth, her training in the Deathworlder cores, her soldiers dying in past wars, her mother's face, all twisted, all used against her. She closed her eyes. You think you know fear? She whispered. But we were born in it. She stepped forward into the light, the final trigger deep inside the ship. The Oblivion warhead reached full charge. There was no turning back now. Commander Vale placed her palm on the final command panel. Her voice calm, steady. For Earth, for the ones who couldn't run, for the ones who fought anyway. She pressed the button. A second later, her final message was transmitted to the fleet. Fire always burns brightest in darkness. Then everything vanished. The cradle dies there, was no explosion, no blast wave, no sound. The cradle simply folded inward, its massive energy collapsing into a single point. Like a black sun consuming itself, one by one, the voidborn around the fleet froze, then shattered. Their connection to the cradle was broken. Without the source, they became nothing but ash and dust, silence across the galaxy. Every advanced civilization had been watching from afar. They had seen the cradle awaken. They had seen humanity go in, and now they saw it go dark, completely, permanently. Aboard Titan's resolves, Sergeant Lex Dorian sat against a damaged bulkhead, breathing hard. The stars were returning. Slowly, Private Wren approached with a broken helmet under his arm. It's over, sir. Dorian looked toward the empty space where the cradle used to be. Is it? He whispered. Then the fleet received the last fragment of Commander Vale's AI transmission. A simple line. Mission complete. Deathworlders, endure. Earth. 1 month later, the Deathworlder fleet returned home, smaller than when it left. But victorious, Earth's sky changed that day not because of weapons or war, but because of the way the galaxy now looked at them for the first time. The other civilizations did not fear Earth out of uncertainty. They respected it out of understanding, because no one else had come. Only the humans, the ones from the death world, the ones who answered the impossible cry. Legacy A small monument was built on Titan, near the deep space relay station where the original message had first been received. On it were the names of every lost soldier, and at the bottom, carved into steel, they asked for help. We answered. We burned the dark away. Final scene, far away, in a place beyond the edge of mapped stars. A child from a peaceful Aruvian species stood beneath a clear sky. Staring up, he wore a simple metal pendant, a gift from a human marine. On it was the Earth symbol for fire. His mother asked him what he was thinking. The child replied, "The monsters stopped coming." She smiled. "Do you know why?" He nodded. "'Cause the fire people came." The sun over Naruva was dying. The Voidborn's assault had torn the sky into pieces. The planet's last major city aligners reach was surrounded. Tall spires cracked and leaned, and the once clear rivers were now filled with black sludge. Only a few thousand Aruvians remained trapped inside ancient underground bunkers built during the last Voidborn War. 5,000 years ago, Commander Ayla Vale stood inside the orbital war room of the Obsidian Spear, staring at a live map of the city. Red dots covered the outer sectors. "Okay, this is their final nest," she said. "They know it too. That's why they're concentrating here." Cade nodded. "Enemy reinforcements are tunneling in. If we wait, the city falls." Vale turned to the screen. A blinking green signal marked Sergeant Dorian's squad. "Deploy every ground unit we have. I want full air cover, drone support, and mech walkers. We hold Eleanor's reach at any cost." "Understood," Cade said. "So I'll notify Earth Command." "Don't bother," Vale replied coldly. "They gave us full authority. We don't ask, we act." On the ground, the calm before the Fire Sergeant Lex. Dorian crouched in the rubble of what used to be a school. He looked around the shelter, hundreds of Aruvians packed inside. Many injured, most terrified. Their large, pale eyes reflected the fires outside. Aruvian medic drones buzzed quietly, stitching wounds. Private Wren approached. "Sarge Command says we're getting reinforcements." "Not soon enough," Dorian replied. Outside the bunker, his squad held the perimeter. The street ahead was eerily quiet. Too quiet. "Where are they?" Wren asked. Dorian stared at the cracked sky. "They're watching us. Gathering. Waiting until we think we're safe." He checked his rifle. "Then they hit us like a wave." The wave arrives 30 minutes later. The first sound came. It wasn't a roar or explosion. It was a hum, low-frequency vibration that rattled teeth and cracked stone. The Voidborn were coming. from the alleys, from below the ground, from the sky. They fell in from every direction, some crawling like spiders, others gliding like liquid shadows. Red pulses flashed in their cores, and this time they were faster. "Contact," shouted Corporal Reyes. Multiple. The street turned into a war zone. Earth soldiers opened fire pulse rifles, shock grenades, sonic hammers. The Voidborn responded with their own weapons, dark matter blades, reality warping blasts, and corrosive mist. The first line held, barely, then the second wave came. They're pushing hard. Rin yelled, gunning down one of the hovering types. Dorian grabbed a Obsidian Spear. "This is Ground Unit 01. We need heavy support now." "Orbital support arrives in orbit." Vale heard the call. "Deploy Titan-class mechs. Send in drone swarms and armor squads. Tell the Iron Veil cruiser to fire grid pattern Theta 7 over the eastern wall." Within seconds, the sky over Eleanor's reach burned. Massive walkers Titan mechs landed like meteors. Their legs shook the ground. One raised its arm and fired a gravity cannon, flattening half a street and sending a Voidborn swarm flying. Deathworlders squads dropped in behind them, securing the shelters and evacuating civilians. But it still wasn't enough. The new enemy emerges in the center of the city. The ground cracked wide open. A massive tower black and alive rose from beneath the crust. It wasn't made. It was grown, pulsing with Voidborn energy. From inside it, a shape began to emerge. Not a soldier, not a beast, something else. A hybrid, humanoid in form. Black metal skin, red veins of pulsing light across its limbs. And worst of all, a face that looked almost human. Vale saw it from the bridge. "What is that?" Cade whispered. "A copy," Vale said. "They've been watching us, and now they're mimicking us." Ground level. Nightmare Sergeant Dorian and squad fell back to the last line of defense. The hybrid stepped through the battlefield. Bullets bounced off its skin. Plasma only slowed it. It moved with terrifying precision. Then it spoke, not with its mouth, but directly into the humans' minds. "We have learned. You cannot win this war. You can only delay it." Dorian raised his rifle. "We're Deathworlders. Delay is all we need." He fired. The hybrid absorbed the hit, then returned a blast of kinetic energy that tore through a building. 2 soldiers were thrown across the street. "Fall back," Dorian shouted. "Regroup at the shelter, Commander." Vale's final cardon, the Obsidian Spear. Commander Vale made a decision. Prepared the Prometheus cannon. Cade looked shocked. "That'll tear through the city. We don't use it. The city won't exist anyway." She keyed the coordinates. "Target only the hybrid tower. Fire when ready." A world on fire from orbit. A beam of pure white fire shot down from the cruiser. It struck the center of Eleanor's reach straight into the heart of the Black Tower. The explosion was blinding. Every Voidborn within 3 miles turned to ash. The hybrid tried to escape, but it was too slow. The light consumed it, freezing it mid-motion before vaporizing it entirely. The attack ended. The battlefield went silent. Aftermath smoke covered the city. Aruvian survivors stepped out of the bunkers in silence, looking at the sky. Earth soldiers stood in formation. Mechs powered down. Drones returned to base. Sergeant Dorian looked around the ruined city. "We held it," he said. Private Wren whispered, "At what cost?" Dorian nodded. "The usual." Commander Vale's final report back on the spare. Vale recorded her message to Earth Command. "Lena's reach is secure. Voidborn capital class entity neutralized. 1 hyperclass confirmed destroyed." She paused. "They're not just invading planets now. They're studying us, copying us. They know we're dangerous." She stared at the stars. "And now they're getting ready to become something worse." 3 days after the Battle of Eleanor's Reach, the smoke still lingered in the sky. The ruins were silent, except for the soft buzz of repair drones and the quiet work of Earth's engineering. squads helping the Eruvians rebuild what little remained. But deep underground, far below the wreckage, below even the oldest Eruvian tunnels, something ancient had started to wake, and Earth's sensors had noticed. Obsidian, Spear, Science Commander, Elavale entered the research chamber, where the Spear's science team had gathered around a massive hologram. The scan showed a signal node buried 900 meters beneath Eleanor's ruins. "We picked this up after the orbital strike," said Chief Analyst Roan. "It activated the moment the Voidborn Tower was destroyed." "Voidborn tech?" Vale asked. Roan shook his head. "No, far older. Predates the Voidborn by at least 10,000 years." Cade stepped forward, puzzled. "You mean someone else fought them before?" Roan zoomed in on the signal data. "More than fought. They warned us." The Decentine excavation team was immediately deployed. Led by Sergeant Lex Dorian, the squad descended into the ancient caverns, using seismic cutters to carefully open a path. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. The walls were not made by nature. They were carved smooth lines, glowing runes, and geometric shapes that defied human architecture. Private Wren whispered in the silence, "This wasn't Eruvian, was it?" Dorian ran his fingers along one of the walls. "No, this was made by someone else." Then they reached the bottom, and there, sealed behind a transparent crystal wall, was a machine. Tall, silent, black like stone, but humming with low energy. Floating above it were alien letters, rotating slowly in the air. Wren pulled out the scanner. "It's transmitting something. In layers, data, code, history." Dorian tapped his cum. "Commander, we found something. You'll want to see this." First contact with the object was carefully removed and brought aboard the Obsidian Spear to the deep scan bay. As Earth's decryption AI worked to break the signal, Roan's team began matching symbols with ancient star charts. "This writing is from the first spiral civilization. They vanished 60,000 years ago." Vale raised a brow, and yet something they made survived a voidborn invasion. Roan nodded. "That's not the strange part." He pointed to the decoded section. "They left a message. Not for their people, not for Eruvians. For us." Cade leaned in. "For humans." "Yes, and they used a frequency only Earth tech can read." The message begins. The ship's speakers crackled. Then a voice began to speak not in words, but through direct neural translation. Each person in the room heard it in their own language. "Okay, to the world of fire, the children of challenge. You were not made by chance. You were made for this." Everyone froze. The message continued. "The Voidborn are not an enemy. They are a reaction to life, a defense system gone wrong. We built them, we lost control, and now they erase all life that grows beyond its limit." Vale's eyes darkened. "You're telling me the Voidborn were created?" "Yes," Roan confirmed, "as a containment species. But something went wrong. The creators tried to shut them down, failed, then vanished. Humanity's role, the message, wasn't finished. We buried this beacon in hope. We predicted that one day a race strong enough, angry enough, stubborn enough would reach the stars and fight back. That species is you, Deathworlders," Phil whispered. "They've known about us for a long time," Roan added. "The data shows planetary monitoring records. Earth was observed for centuries. They knew our potential, but also our violence. That's why the Voidborn signal locked to us. That wasn't a distress call. It was a trigger to test if humanity was ready to fight the source." Cade stared at the wall. "So they baited us." Vale's voice was cold. "They warned us, then gave us a target. Hidden coordinates." The final part of the message was a map, a path through dangerous space marked with collapsed stars, decaying wormholes, and artificial gates. At the end, a place labeled the Cradle of. The sky above Naruva turned red. A quiet hum grew louder, echoing across the ruined plains and broken cities. The invaders, the Void-born, paused in their feeding, their dark shapes twisting in the air like thick smoke with metal bones. Something new had entered their space, something different, above them. Through the cracked clouds, Earth's fleet broke formation and descended. The lead ships moved like silent daggers. They didn't use sound. They didn't light the sky with flames. They simply arrived, a black line of warships cutting through space, like a blade through water, and at the front of the line was the ESS Obsidian Spear. Inside the command deck of the Spear, Commander Alavale stood still, eyes locked on the tactical screen. "We've crossed the threshold," her officer reported. "We're now inside full Void-born territory." "Any other fleet signatures?" she asked. "None. It's just us." Vale nodded. She expected that. No one else had the tech, the courage, or the madness to come this deep. "Activate quantum field mapping. I want to see the real terrain." The holomap blinked and shifted. A wide region appeared filled with distortions, energy spikes, gravitational anomalies, the shattered veil, the place where light itself got confused, where ships entered and never came back. Dozens of small icons lit up. Old ships, abandoned wrecks, silent beacons blinking like ghost lights. "Look at that," said Lieutenant Cade. "That's the Cloran Vanguard. Lost 180 years ago. And that's a Serati mine fleet. They vanished 50 years ago." The screen showed dozens of old wrecks, scattered like bones across a battlefield. Vale narrowed her eyes. The Voidborn didn't just destroy them. They left them here as a warning. Suddenly, the ship shook. Not a hit, not an explosion, but a shift. Reality itself twisted for a second. Everyone on the bridge felt like they were falling in multiple directions at once. Then it stopped. Cade looked pale. "What the hell was that?" "Dimensional wavefront," Vale said calmly. "Expected." Pinder, the navigation AI, beeped. "Stabilizers holding," it said. "God, but if we stay too long, the holes may begin to decay." "We won't stay long," Vale said. "We didn't come to hide. We came to end this." Meanwhile, on the surface, the Eruvians, who had survived, hid in their underground bunkers. The Voidborn machines roamed the surface freely now. They walked like shadows, scanning, burning, infecting the ground with their black roots. Then something happened. A beam of blue light slammed into one of the largest Voidborn towers. The structure shattered in one strike split from top to bottom. The Eruvian survivors looked up in shock. Another flash, then another, in the sky. Black ships began to appear, dropping units from their hulls. The units burned through the atmosphere like falling stars. Eruvian children pointed. "What are those?" Old Counselor Revi whispered. "Those are humans. Deathworlders, deploying side drop unit 13. Sergeant Lex Dorian tightened the straps of his armor. His squad sat around him silent. "Ready?" "You all know the drill," Dorian said. "Hit the ground, secure the perimeter, hold until extraction." Private Wren, the new recruit, looked nervous. "Sergeant, what if the Voidborn tried to mess with our heads?" "I heard they use psychic feedback." Dorian smirked. "That only works on people who fear death." He tapped his chest. "We were born on a death world, kid. Let them try." The drop unit doors opened. Wind screamed past. Then, dash launch. Dozens of Deathworlder pods streaked across the sky, carving lines of fire as they dropped toward the surface. Surface. Impact. War begins. Sergeant Dorian's pod hit the ground hard. The sides blew open. His squad moved instantly, spreading out, weapons raised out in front of them. The Voidborn turned. Black clouds with glowing red centers shifted and twisted into attack form. Contact, shouted Dorian. Laser fire lit the ruined city. The battle had begun. Back in orbit. Commander Vale monitored the feed. Each squad's helmet cam was live. She watched as teams fought, rescued civilians, and cleared sectors. Cruisers 7 and 8, she ordered. Break orbit. K. Provide low altitude fire support. Dreadnoughts. Load antimatter charges. Target those towers. The ships responded immediately. Earth's fleet wasn't there to study. They were there to wipe them. Enemy out in the shadows. Enemy movement deep inside the shattered veil. Something moved. Not fast. Not slow. Something old. A shape larger than a mountain. Buried within folded space. It was watching Earth's fleet. Calculating. Waiting. It had not seen humans in over 200 years, but it remembered them. They return. The voice echoed across frequencies. They remember war. So do we. It began to awaken. Back on the surface, Sergeant Dorian's team reached a trapped group of Aruvian civilians. The Voidborn had created a barrier around them, some kind of black energy wall. T suggestions. Dorian asked. Private Wren stepped forward. We could use a charge blast. The corner open. Dorian nodded. Do it. The team placed the device. Boom. The wall shattered. K. And the Aruvians stared in awe at the human soldiers. One child stepped forward. Are you really from Earth? Dorian knelt, his armored visor reflecting the fire. Yeah, you called. We came. Commander Vale's last orders of the day back on the bridge. Commander Vale received new data. Skate. We've got something big waking up deeper in the veil. Too far for visual, but we're getting distortion spikes. It's bigger than the towers. Much bigger. It may be the Voidborn's central mind. Vale paused. Then we hit it. Hard. We didn't come all this way to leave survivors. All ships, she said, overfleet comes. Prepare for deeper strike. I want every engine hot. We go into the dark. She looked out the window in the distance. Strange lights twisted and shifted. Let's see what they're hiding. T. Atmosphere above Naruva was no longer silent. It boiled with fire, streaks of plasma, and the hum of Earth's warships cutting through the skies. Each black Deathworlder vessel cast long, sharp shadows across the shattered cities below. But even in the middle of war, strange calm settled over Commander Alavale. She stood on the bridge of the ESS Obsidian Spear, her eyes fixed on the screen showing hundreds of live feeds, helmet cams, battlefield scans, heat maps, and then a red alert flashed. Voidborn, signature massive object, approaching from core zone. Vale narrowed her eyes. Finally, she said quietly, "They're coming to meet us." Meanwhile, on the ground, Sergeant Lex Dorian crouched behind what remained of an alien monument. His team was pinned down in what used to be the Aruvian capital. A tower had collapsed across the square, and strange black growths were rising from the cracks in the ground. The Voidborn weren't machines in the normal sense. They moved like liquid shadow. They cut like blades. Some hovered like drones. Others slithered across broken streets. Worst of all, they were silent. Not a single growl. No war cry. No voice. Movement and destruction. "Sarge, we're getting surrounded," said Corporal Reyes, firing pulse rounds into a cluster of shadows. "We hold," Dorian said, "till the dropships clear the rooftops." Wren fired from beside him, his hands shaking. "How many are there?" Dorian didn't answer. He didn't know. Then, with a crack of thunder, one of Earth's lower-bit strike ships descended. S-Tempest Lance opened its main cannon. The blast vaporized 3 blocks in one strike, shattering the black swarm in 2. Smoking ash. Dorian's team moved instantly, pushing forward, rescuing the last Aruvian elders. Evac sites to clicks east. Dorian shouted, "Move." In orbit, the arrival back on the Obsidian Spear. The scanners went dark, then suddenly overloaded. A low hum filled the air. Not from their own ship, but from somewhere beyond the veil. "Something's opening space," Kate said, staring at the growing distortion on the screen. "It's not using standard tech." The screen shimmered, and then it appeared, a void-born capital-class entity. It didn't look like a ship. It looked like a black moon, cool, but shaped wrong and even, flowing with limbs that folded in and out of existence. It pulsed like a heart. It whispered in static. "Okay, they've come again. They never learn. Let them see." Vale stepped forward. "Target that thing. All batteries full, lock its jamming sensors. Then use your eyes," she said. "We've faced worse in the dark belt. Earth's first real strike from high orbit. Earth's fleet opened fire. Dreadnoughts launched plasma rounds, magneto-lance bolts, and graviton-piercers. Each strike hit the void-born beast, but instead of being destroyed, it absorbed the hits. The creature pulsed again, fired back. A beam of distorted light lashed across space, tasting into one of Earth's smaller cruisers. The ESS Ember Run exploded in a flash of silent blue fire. Vale clenched her jaw. "We lost the Ember." Kate looked up. "Ma'am, it's adapting." Then we hit it harder. "Load Erebos protocol." "What is Erebos?" Hidden inside the spear's deepest vault was a weapon only a few in the galaxy had. "Ever heard of Project Erebos?" was Earth's response to the impossible build, not to fight, but to erase. It used dimensional compression away to force an enemy out of physical space and trap it between time layers. The weapon wasn't legal, not even on Earth. But this was war. Vale placed her hand on the launch panel, fired the Erebos warhead. A cold voice answered. "Erebos armed. Target locked. Release." In the dark, silent space around Naruva, a small, black torpedo launched from the spear. It made no sound, left no trail, and when it reached the capital-class Voidborn, disappeared into it. 1 second, 2, then reality broke. The Voidborn writhed, twisting across 100 positions at once. Its shape flickered, stretched, and screamed in signals that no one could translate. Finally, it imploded. The space it had occupied folded inward like crumpled metal dot. The planet Narova floated quietly on the edge of the known galaxy. It was small, green, and peaceful, a world full of calm rivers, soft winds, and bright skies. The people of Naruva, the Aruvians, had never known war. Their cities were open. Their children played under twin suns. For centuries, they believed danger was something that happened to other planets. They were wrong. It began without sound. A dark shadow crossing the sky. Then came the static. All their satellites went offline in seconds. And then the stars disappeared. From above the clouds, a massive shape blotted out the sky. It didn't give warnings. It didn't ask for surrender. It simply began erasing. Things. Cities turned to dust. Water boiled from oceans. Their world, once so full of life, began to burn. The elders of the planet rushed to their ancient communication tower. The Aruvians hadn't used it in over 600 years, but it still worked. One voice was chosen, old, trembling. He spoke into the universe. "This is a call to any who hear. We are under attack. We do not know who or what they are. We are peaceful, please. Anyone, help us." He paused, then said the words they were all too afraid to admit. "This may be our end." He sent the message in every known language, in code, in bursts, in cries, and he waited. The beacon fired the signal outward, across space, across time, and then silence. Galactic response time, T plus 10 minutes. Beacon reached the edges of the Galactic Union. Thousands of systems heard it. It was received by the Tethri traders, the Voran mind linkers, the Sarati cloud mines, all intelligent, all capable of space travel. Every one of them reviewed the location. Every one of them ran the same analysis. And then, every one of them deleted the message. The coordinates pointed to a region of space long avoided. The ash rim, the graveyard of lost fleets, a place where science broke down, where light bent the wrong way, where ships went in and never came out. No one dared answer, except one, Earth. Sol system, deep space, defense, AI, 7, hidden deep beneath Antarctica. Earth's oldest space watching system, Sabre 7, came online. It wasn't run by humans. It had been built long ago for one purpose only: to detect ancient threats, the ones that nearly ended Earth during the Oblivion era. When Saber 7 received the Eruvian message, it did not hesitate. It didn't worry about politics, or distance, or diplomacy. It analyzed the hidden data beneath the cry for help in the sound waves, deep in the static. It found a signature, a digital pulse, a name that Earth hadn't heard in over 2 centuries. VOIDB, OA, the last time the Voidborn were seen. Earth's moon base was turned to slag. It took a fleet of Earth's darkest ships to drive them back, ships so dangerous that they were sealed away, hidden, and erased from history. Now, SA 7 sent out Code Black, Death Protocol. It awoke what humanity had buried. Mars orbit, Black Site 9. 745 Houston, a red moon orbiting Mars. An underground cryovault hissed open. Inside, frozen in perfect stasis, lay a woman in dark armor. Her name was Commander Vale. As her eyes opened, a voice greeted her. Commander, threat level, Voidborn confirmed. Deathworlder fleet is reactivating. She didn't blink. She just asked one question. How long until launch? Earth Global Emergency Council. The message had now reached the top levels of Earth's leadership. The President, the generals, the Terran Council, even the old scientists from the Lunar War were brought in. The room was quiet. One of the older council members, gray-haired and sunken-eyed, stared at the display. It showed a simulation of the Voidborn's attack worlds, falling in seconds. It's the ash rim again. They're rising. Another leaned forward. No one else will go. That region is cursed. A woman in military uniform spoke. That's why they sent the signal directly. The Eruvians didn't just ask for help. They aimed it at us. Earth. She tapped the screen. Look, the message wasn't wideband, okay? It was focused, as if they knew we were the only ones who'd answer. A hush fell over the room. Then, the President of Earth simply nodded. Then, we answer. High orbit, Earth's shadow fleets the Deathworlder. Fleet had no official name. Even Earth's population believed it had been dismantled decades ago, but it wasn't. It had simply been waiting. Now, black holes rose silently from the oceans, deserts, and craters, invisible to radar. Powered by gravity drives and dark matter cores, each ship bore no flag, no colors. Only one mark, the Earth sigil crossed with a burning star. Command ship, ESS, Obsidian Spear, Captain, Commander. Vale, fleet strength, 7 dreadnoughts, 15 cruisers, 200 drop units, unknown assets, 2 classified war engines. Inside the Obsidian Spear, Commander Vale stood on the bridge. Her armor clicked softly as she stepped toward the viewing port. Prepare for stealth jump. Coordinates. Her first officer asked, the Ash Rim, Eruvian sector. Any allies? None. Vale stared at the swirling lights of space. Okay. They asked for help. No one else came. Okay. That makes this our fight now. The Deathworlders weren't just soldiers. They were born of fire. Earth's most dangerous environments had created them crushing pressure. Nuclear storms, ice worlds, and death heat deserts. No other species trained like them. Now they were headed straight into the deadliest region in the galaxy. And they weren't going to ask for permission. They were going to bring firepower in a final flash of dark blue light. The fleet vanished, and behind them, Earth went quiet once more. No medals, no speeches, just one last message from Saber 7, sent in every galactic frequency to those who heard the call and stayed silent. Remember this moment. Earth does not forget. The black void of space around Mars shimmered as Earth's hidden fleet came alive. Ships once buried under the red planet's surface now hovered in silence above the Martian moons. Each one had been designed not just to survive war, but to survive war in impossible conditions. Dark matter storms, collapsing stars, chemical space, and gravity-ripping zones. These were not ordinary human ships. These were Deathworlder vessels, fast, aggressive, and terrifyingly silent, inside the command center of the ESS Obsidian Spear. Red lights blinked. Commander Alavale walked across the steel deck. Her black armor hissed with a tiny vents. She was a legend trained during Earth's silent war, leader of the Ghost Fire missions, and survivor of the Neptune collapse. She stopped in front of the main tactical display. Status of the fleet, she asked. Her second in command, Lieutenant Cade, answered immediately. 7 dreadnoughts, fully powered, cruisers locking jump coordinates, drop units being loaded with war teams. Gravcore drives are warming. Allah gave a single nod. Any word from Central Command? Cade's face darkened. Only 2 words came through. He tapped the console, and the words appeared in red letters. Full authority. That meant Earth had given them complete control. No orders, no restrictions. This was war. Ayla stepped into the holochamber. A 3D map of the ash rim blinked into existence. The Aruvian homeworld was marked in blue. Surrounding it were jagged red clouds in stable space, where most ships couldn't survive more than a few hours. Only the Deathworlder fleet had the systems to fly into that storm. Enemy type? Ayla asked. Not confirmed, said Cade. But Saber 7's analysis shows void-born energy patterns. We believe it's not just one ship. It's a hive. So how long until we reach the Aruvians? 16 hours at quantum jump speed. And if the void-born track us, we'll be fighting them inside folded space. Ayla didn't blink. Then we'd better hit them first. On Earth. Operation Echo, silence back on Earth. Deep beneath Greenland's ice shelf. A secret operations room lit up. Earth's leaders watched the fleet's telemetry updates in real time. A group of old military advisors stood in silence. One of them whispered, "We're about to remind the galaxy what Deathworlders are." Another added, "Let's hope they remember and don't try us again." On board the ESS Typhon strike cruiser, Sergeant Lex Dorian walked through the dark corridors of the dropship. His team sat on metal benches, suiting up in X-armor. He paused, watching a young soldier struggling with his helmet. Nervous, rookie? Private Wren tried to smile. Just never been outside the system before. Dorian knelt beside him. I fought in the siege of Ganymede. Thought that was the worst it'd ever get. Then came this mission. So yeah, you should be scared. But remember, we're not just soldiers. He pointed to a patch on Wren's armor. A burning earth symbol with claws around it. We're Deathworlders. We walk where others run. We hold when others fall. Gare. And when someone sends a call for help, you stood. We're the ones who answer. The fleet moved 16 hours past. In those hours, thousands of soldiers prepared. Engineers calibrated weapons that hadn't been fired in centuries. Tactical AI ran simulations. Drones loaded warheads, and every ship ran stealth mode, no lights, no sound, no visible trail. In the center of the formation, the ESS Obsidian Spear pulsed with silent power. Commander Vale stood before the bridge's giant viewing window. Ahead of them, the stars twisted. Then, space cracked, not exploded, cracked, like broken glass. The edge of the ash rim appeared like a black wound in the sky. Purple lightning danced through it. Dead signals echoed from ships long ago. All ships, Vale called. This is Commander Vale. We are entering unstable space. All safety limits are cancelled. All combat protocols are green. The Aruvians called. No one answered, except us. You know what that means. Silence. Then a voice came over. The fleet-wide come, Deathworlders, move out. Inside the ash mass, the fleet passed the threshold. The stars disappeared. Time moved slower, then faster. Gravity pulled sideways, but the Deathworlder